Alright, in this video we are going to see how to create a login system with Laravel. So what do I mean by that? So here this is the uh, page which we have created from HTML. So this is the HTML, you can see the extension HTML. So we have converted this HTML into the Laravel template and we have created this login system. So what it does, it will not allow us to enter into the URL called home unless we are logged in. So if I type enter, you'll be thrown back to the login page saying that you are not allowed to access without account. So let me try again, and I'll throw back to the login page again with the message not allowed to access without account. So let's just create the account. So let me just give the name, first name, last name, the email address and the phone number and the website, and then I have password 1234, and then I have to match the same password 1234 and click on register. Once it is registered, you'll see the message registered successful, and let me just log in. So I have used the username UImonk and the password 1234. Click on login, and once it is logged in, now I have access to the home page. Now you can see hello from UImonk, and I want to log out, so click on the log out, and now you are logged out. So if I try to access the home again, I won't be allowed to access. I will be pushed back to the login page saying that not allowed to access without account. So here what all things I have. So in the register page, if I click on submit without filling the values, you'll see the first name, last name, all the input fields are required. Along with that, let me just fill the values, and if I type the password 1234 and if I type the wrong password 12345, and if I click on submit, you will see these two passwords should match, the password must match. So this is the validation that we have created here, and you'll be learning how to create the validation. So the process would be like, we'll be converting the HTML template into Laravel, and then we'll be creating the tables using PHP artisan migrate, and then we'll be adding validation to the form, and then we'll be seeing how to create middleware and block a certain URL. Here in this case home URL is blocked, and that's it. So let's just get started. So to follow along, I'll leave the source code in the description in case if you got stuck somewhere. Just copy paste it and start along with me. And for the HTML template to download, I'll leave the link for the color live. Let me just show you. And this is the template which I am using. I'll leave the link in the description. You have to click on download, and that's it, it would be downloaded. So this is from the colorlive.com, and sign up form version 02. And if you're new to this channel, you can start learning Laravel from the playlist. So this playlist starts from the absolute beginner to the intermediate level. So in this case you are learning Laravel, so you need to get into that Laravel playlist, and here I have approximately 30 videos. And if you are a very beginner, I would suggest you to start from episode number 1 and reach till here. And now we are, I can mute this, and right now we are at the episode number 30. So we have seen installing form validation, and we are at the stage where we are able to convert the HTML template into Laravel template and add validation, and then use the Laravel's authentication system and use the middleware to block the URL. So we at episode number 30, you can confidently say that what all things what I've said previously, you can confidently say you can do that. So let's just, I would be upgrading this playlist every week, so enjoy the process with installing the Laravel. Now make sure your XAMPP is running. So you can see my Apache and my SQL are running in my system, and now we have to change the directory and locate it to the if you are in the users, just type change directory dot dot and reach till here, and once you reach here we have to get into XAMPP, then htdocs, and then we have saved all our Laravel projects in the folder called Laravel projects, and here we need to write the command, and the command is going to be this one. Let me just paste it. So I'm telling the composer create a project and download the Laravel folder and name the folder as subscriber 11, and the preferred version of Laravel is 8.6.3. just click enter, and you have to wait till the composer downloads all the Laravel related package in this particular folder. And once it's downloaded, what you have to do is you have to get into that folder. Here in this case it's subscriber 11, and we have to install the Laravel UI package. And after the Laravel UI package we have to install the authentication package, and after authentication package we have to run the npm server. And now let's just run the authentication package, and authentication is also done. Now it says, you should see somewhere, you can see npm install and npm run dev. And now I don't see a table, so I have to run npm run dev again. So until you see a table in the command prompt, it means that your Laravel is not properly installed. And now you see the table, so your Laravel is successfully installed. Now I want to run the Laravel in the browser, so php artisan serve. So now it says it's running the port 8000, and this is the welcome page from Laravel. So let me open one more command prompt so that I don't have to close the running server again and write code. Instead we'll open one more server, cd XAMPP change drive htdocs change drive Laravel projects, and here we have subscriber 11. And let me just open the HTML. So this is the HTML which we are going to convert first. Now let me just open the Visual Studio Code from here, code dot, and before that let me just create a database on phpMyAdmin. So we'll name the database same as our Laravel project name. Here in this case it's subscriber 11. For creating database you have to click on new, and subscriber 11 is the database name. And once the database is created, you have to link this database to your Laravel project. So here you have to get into env file and you have to look for mysql, and the database name is subscriber 11. And now since I'm using Laravel, the root is the default password, so username, and the password is blank. And that's done. Now what we need to do is, let's just change the process. Like, we'll first create the tables. Now in the table, what are the things that we need? Over here we have first name, last name, email address, phone number, and then we have a website, and then we have password and confirm password, and the checkbox is checked. Now these are the columns that we need. So to create tables, Laravel comes with the folder called migration in the database folder, migration. So here are the setup files for the table. As of now we just need to focus on users table, so let's just click that. And we need first name, let this be string, and we need last name, let the data type be string, and we need email, and we have phone, and then we have website, and then we have email, we don't need verify that, and we have password, we don't need token, and that's it. Now these are the columns that we need. Now what we need to do is we just need to make the tables. So in that case, php artisan migrate is a command that you need to give, and the Laravel will start migrating the tables. Now it says all the tables are migrated. So just to see the database, just click on structures. Now you will see 5 tables. So the table that we need is the users table. Let's just click that, and over there you will see the columns that we have modified right now: first name, last name, phone, website, email, password. So that's all we need. Now let's just convert this HTML into Blade. So now you see this root, this welcome page is coming from, if you see Laravel's process is Laravel first get into web.php, and over here he just finds the home page. So this is nothing but home page. So when there's a call for home page, it is just returning the view called welcome. So the view is nothing but Blade. In HTML it is called HTML page, but in Laravel it is called Blade. So it's actually a PHP file, so which can be found in the resources folder. Here we have resources, here we have views, and in the views you will see welcome, and this is equivalent to this welcome. And if you remove all and just type hello and save it, now if you refresh the page, you will see just hello instead of the welcome page. Now what we need is, since we are using the registration and login, let me just uncomment and let's just get there, and you will see there is already a page called login. If you click on it, you will see that this is the default login page and this is the default register page. So we want to make this register page to this page. So first we have to understand where this is coming from. So here in the resources folder, in the views, in the auth folder, you will find 2 pages, which is login.blade.php, and one more thing is register.blade.php. Now what we need to do is, we have to open our HTML. Let's just open our HTML, and I have linked this HTML in the description. Just copy it and download it, and we don't need this of now. Let me just, it's distracting. Cool. Now in the episode 3 just open HTML and copy the whole HTML and paste it in the register.blade.php, and same for login.blade.php. Now if I make a refresh, you will see the HTML but not the CSS in JavaScript. So for the HTML to work, we need the necessary CSS and JavaScript files. So in that case, we have to bundle all the files into one folder. So I have bundled all the fonts, CSS, images and JS in one folder and call it as assets. Just copy this assets and get into the Laravel projects, and subscriber level is our current project, and get into public, just paste it. And this isn't enough. Now if you make a refresh, you could see the changes, but if you press Ctrl U, you'll see the assets are properly linked, but it's in the relative way. We want it to be in a absolute way. In that case, we are going to use the Laravel code. So whenever we use Laravel codes, Laravel has the syntax called this. So actually we are in the wrong file. We should be inside a register or login page. So we are going to use Blade assets, and this is the function that we need to pass. And now we have to open the function, sorry, close the function, created function. So if you make a refresh, you should see the absolute path. You can see these are the absolute path. So the same way it would have script as well. So we have to do it one more time. Blade symbol, asset, and then again now we have to do the same for the login.blade.php. So when I search for login, there would be same file. So here in the login, what we need is, we just need email and password. But you see there is a change. If I make any change in the title or in the head tag, I have to do it in both the files. So to avoid that, what we can do is, we can create a common file and we can paste it into a folder called layout, and inside layout, let's just create a file called app.blade.php, and over here let me copy the head part and the body part, and let's just create a directive, and we need to give a passcode which is container container. Now what we need to do is we need to replace this directive with our HTML, the meat part, except the script tag and the head. So this part should get replaced with the yield. So in that case we have to again create a call a directive which is section, and we need to give the passcode. Here in this case it's container, and whenever we open a section we need to close the section as well at the rate end section. And this isn't enough, we have to call the parent. So here in this case the parent is inside extends, it's a keyword extends at the rate extends, and over here we have access till views. So inside views we have auth, auth, inside auth we have layout, inside layout we have app. Just copy this, and this is login. Now if you make a refresh, there won't be any change because all the header and footer would be connected properly. So in any case you'll see the title is not changed. So this is register, and this is going to be login, and this is login, and this is register. Since you can see both shares the same title, so I want to change that. In that case again we'll create a yield directive, and over here we are giving the passcode as title, and then we need to create one more section here for the title at the rate end section. And over here, since it's login, we can make this as login, and for the register we can make this as register. You see the mistake, we have to give the passcode. Now if you make a refresh, you will see register, and here we have login. Cool, that is done. Now let's just work on form validation. So before form validation, we'll work on form validation. If I click on submit, you should see it's getting submitted. So what we need is we need to add a validation. So whenever a form is submitted, what happens is it will get into a URL which we mention in the form. So let's just see where form is. The form is over here. This is the action. So here it should get into a URL. So here the URL will make it as the route, and we need to give a name. We'll just name it as register submit. Now we need to create a controller for that. So let's create a controller. So the controller is responsible for when there's a call for this URL, Laravel will check in the controller, and in the controller if there is any function that is dealing with this URL, it will give the relevant code. So just to give you an example, we have to get into web.php. In the web.php, which is inside routes, so when there's a call for home, Laravel will check this controller, and inside this controller the relevant URL is handled by this function index, and then this is the name of the route. So now we can get into home controller, app controller, home controller. Now you can see in the index, let's just comment this as of now. So it is important to comment this, or else you won't see this page. So as I said, when there's a call for the URL home, the Laravel will check in the home controller. This is the home controller, and inside that we have a function called index. You can see the index, and what index is doing, index is again returning the view. This view which we have seen earlier, you can see welcome and home. So if I search in the URL called home, you would see the relevant function is returning the home.blade.php. So here in the home.blade.php, this is what it is. So if I type something hello from and if you make a refresh, you see hello from UI monk. Cool, and that's enough. Now what we can do is, let's just create a controller. So I'm telling the artisan, make controller. The controller name should be custom login, and R means required functions. Now you can see custom login controller has shown up. So here we have all the relevant function. Now we can use custom login controller in the web.php. So we are saying when there's a call for register submit URL, the relevant function that is going to handle is this function, which we will be creating in a minute, and then this could be the name of the route. The name is what we are using in the action. So this is the name of the route. Cool, that's enough for the intro. Now since we have a function named register submit, let's just create that over here. We don't need this comment. Let me just call this and copy this and paste it here, cut it, paste it, the name of the function, and over here as a parameter we'll be getting the request. Request is nothing but your HTML input field. Now dump and die request all the input field, display all the input field, and if everything goes smooth, you will see all the values. So in the register, so there's one more error in the register. Whenever you submit a form, you should give @ cross site request forgery. So this will send a token to avoid hack. Now refresh, click on submit, and this is the method is forced, but we are making this get. It should be forced. Whenever you submit a form, it should be a method of forced. You can even see it on the form. Undefined request in the controller. Actually it's the URL, sorry, it's a variable, not a constant. Let's try submitting again, and you can see as of now the token is fast. Now in the HTML you can see the post is there. Now we need to create name attribute that should be equal with your column name. That means your column name and your input field value should be same for better understanding. So for email, phone number, website, password, so for the confirm password we have a unique name for that, which is password underscore confirmation, and then your is checked. Since we have name on all fields, now if you try to submit again, all the values will be sent. So first name, last name, email, everything is here, but it is null. What we need to do is we need to add a validation. If it is null, then we need to show the error just below your input field. Let's create a validation first, and now in the controller you can comment this, and we are making the first name is required, the last name is required, the email is required, and the phone is required, the website is required, the password is required, the confirmation password is also required, password underscore confirmation, and then we have is checked. And here along with required, here we should say same colon the password. and here if you want to set the password length, you can do that. Minimum should be 4. Cool. Once this is done, if you try to submit, what will happen is it would redirect it to the same page because it has validation. Now let's just show the error just below our input field. So here, and this is how we show the error. Make sure to give the name properly. So this is for first name, this is for last name, for email, for phone, for website, for password, for confirm password, and for checked. Now if I make a submit, you should see the error just below all the input field. The first name is required, the last name is required, the email is required. In case this is so long, what you can do is you can even modify it just by getting into resources folder. We'll find lang here, validation, and search for required, and you can see you can make this short just by saying the field is required. Click on submit again. You see name required, last name required, email required. Now if I type shall and if you click on submit, you'll see the validation will go, but along with the validation, here your input field value auto goes away. So to stop that, what we can do is, here there is another attribute called old. So value equal to the Laravel function, which is old, and we need to pass the name. Now if I type and click on register, validation will the validation will go away, but your text is also staying. So likewise you have to do this for all the values. So I have done it for all. Now the validation part is done. So once I click on it, what should happen is it should get saved into the database. So to get saved into the database, we need the help of model. So in the controller, we'll be using the model session and hash. So let's just import that. So here we need model, we need authentication class, we need hash, and we need session. So the hash is for converting the text into hash format so that we can save it in the table, and the session is for sending data from one page to another, and the auth class is for log authentication. We'll see in a minute, and let's just use the user model so that we can save it into the database. So first of all, we need to get all the input field value and store it into a variable called data, and what I have done is this is the class, and this is the static function, and these are the column names on the left, and these are the input field value from the right, from the input field. For on the right, these are the input field values: the first name, last name, email, and the password we are sending it to the make, which is the static function of hash class. And once this is done, and make sure you are into the model users and use all the required value over fillables. So first name, cool, that is done. So once it is saved, I want it to redirect to the same page, which is register, and with the message saying that registered successful. Now the message would be passed in the register page, but how it will accept, unless we need to use a session over here. We are just checking whether the session has the message. So this is the keyword which we are passing over here, the message we are receiving in the register, and if it is as the message, then show the message along with it need to show the button for login btn. Now let's try inserting values. Email address, we have to make a note of email address 12345 12345678910. Website wonk.com, password 12345, minimum should be 4, retyping 1234, and if you click on register, the password confirmation must match. Cool, let's just type 1234 1234, register. Column could not found, unknown column is checked. So I think I have changed the name. There is no is checked column, so I think we can skip that for this session. So we have not created the column itself. So if that happens, what we can do is we can get into the database migration table, and is checked is not there, so let's just create one. Since there is no data, since there is no table, and let's just check whether the value is there. Name. Cool, now what we can do is we can simply delete this table. Structure, get into the database, drop the table, drop, yes, and we can write the command php artisan migrate. So let's just check, it's just returning it, recreating it. The command is refresh. Now if this, let's just check the user, and is checked is there. Now let's fill the value one more time. 1234 is the password, 1234 is the password again. Click on register, and in the bottom we see registered successfully, and now you can log in. So let's work on the login page now. It's very similar now, we don't have to do much. The first we need to check for the form, and here the name is going to be login submit, login, and the same way we don't need first name last name for here. We'll just keep the email address and the password. Let's just delete all the values which is not required. So this is going to be password, control V. So we'll use the error for email over here, and error for password over here, and we have the name attribute as password enemy, and of course the value in case if there is a validation error, the input field will not go away, input field values will not go away, it would stay if you write this. And now we need to initialize the URL. Here it's going to be, the URL is login submit, and this is the name of the route, and this is the function. So here again we'll be using one more function. Now this time this is going to be for login submit. The same way we would be having validation, but with the name, email and password. Now if you click on this register, you can just rename it to login login. We don't need this lorem sim. Again login. So when there's a message, again we need to show the message if there is any login. Okay, we won't be showing message this time. We would be sending them to the home page. So if I type law, you will see validation email is required and password is required. So now what we need to do is, again with the help of authentication class, we are going to check, and from the input field we'll be getting the email and password and storing it into a variable called data. And once it is saved, what we do is we'll use the authentication class, and with the help of static function we are going to check whether the logged in user is an authenticated user or not, whether the value is there in the database or not. If it is there, then we'll create a session. If the value is not there, then we need to show the message saying that invalid credentials. Again, to display the error, we need to check whether the session has a message. If the session has the message, then display the message. Now let's just intentionally give wrong username and password and click on login. Here you should see the message saying that invalid message. Sorry, in the message saying that login failed. Email is required. Email, password minimum 4, and email, the name is not mentioned, name attribute. Again, let's just manually and intentionally give wrong credentials, and let's wait for the message saying that login failed. Yes, and if the login is failed, then we are redirecting to the login page. If the login is right, then we need to create a session with what? Session with the ID which we will receive with the authentication class. Now with the help of authentication class, it has a function called ID. So this ID will store it into a variable called user ID. Now this user ID is nothing but, since if you are logged in with the username, let me just if you just log in with your username, which is this one, UI Monk, and sorry Vishal, now this ID 1 would be saved over here. Now with the help of this ID, what we will do is we'll get the whole row data, which is first name, last name, phone, website, email and password, and we'll store that whole row data into a session, so that if the website has 5 page, those 5 page will have access to these single row values. And this is what we are doing. And with the help of find, we'll getting the whole row data and storing it to user data, and with the help of session put, we are saving the whole row data into the variable called user data, so that all the pages in the website can have access to that single user details. Now once it is logged in, you have to get into the home page. So let's just check with the credentials, which is vishalgmail.com 1234. Click on login. Now you would be redirected to the home page. That means your login is right. Now I just want to click on logout. So for the logout, again we can create a URL for login, logout, relevant function, and the name of the route. So the function, which is login logout. Here we are going to do nothing. We are just delete the session which we have created, and we would be logging out from the authentication class, and then we'll be redirecting them to the register your login page. Cool. I'm logging out from the authentication class. I'm deleting the sessions created, and then I'm redirecting myself to the login page. Login page. Now what we need to do is we need to find where this is coming from, where the heading is coming from. It's coming from the resources, views, layout, app, and search for logout, and over here this is the route. So we can just give the name of the route, copy this, and this is the name of the route, and again, this is the URL. Now if I click on logout, I would be redirected to the login page, and that means I'm logged out. Now if I try to access home, I would have access to it. So how to stop that? How to stop a page without without a user is logged in, he won't have access to this URL. So here in this case, there comes a concept called middleware. So what Laravel will do is, when you search for something like home, Laravel will first check in the middleware whether if there is any condition is there or not for that URL. So I'm searching for home. Laravel will check in the web.php, and if there is any middleware check is happening or not. If there is any middleware check, then accordingly the if else statement will work, and the relevant view, here in this case the home view, shows up. So let's create a middleware first. So again, the middleware is like a controller we need to create. So here let's just create a middleware and make middleware, and name of the middleware is login check. So over here in the app, in the http, in the middleware, you'll find login check, and here we would have a check. So this is the line which will give you the output, either it is home or it is something which you specify right now. What I want is, I want to show the URL only when it's a logged in user. So to check whether you are a logged in user or not, so we have a function. So over here, if the user is logged in, then only show the view, or else redirect them into the register page. So here we can use this, redirect them to the login page with the message not allowed to access without account. So you'll get the message if you try to access home without a logged user. So this doesn't end, this doesn't end where your middleware processes, but what I meant is, this is not the end. This is how we create middleware. There is some further steps that we need to follow to complete the process of creation of middleware. So here you have to call this class, over here it's login check, and get into curl, and over here you'll find middleware group. Just copy the first line and paste it, and this is the class name, and this is the nickname for your middleware. So we have to use this nickname in the web.php. So here we need to create a route group. So why route group? Route group is nothing but a collection of your route URLs. So here in this case, we need to find which URL should we want to block. Here in this case, it's just the home we want to block. So we have to paste this inside the route group, and we have to use the nickname of the middleware, and that's it. And now if I try to access the home which is in the middleware group, I would redirect to the login page with the message not allowed to access without account. So if I try to access home again, I would be thrown back to the register page, sorry, login page, with the message not allowed to access without account. So now if I try to access with account, so which is 1 2 3 4, and click on login, and now I have access to it, and now I can log out, and if I try to access the same home, I will be pushed back to the login page saying that not allowed to access without account. Cool. Let's just create. I hope the scope of this video is done. Thank you so much for listening.